Man, welcome back to the show that's going to be, off the hook this evening. Of course, it's the one and only Coach Tony. And this is Monday night. So that means it's the Pull Up Podcast show. So we appreciate everyone for checking in tonight, obviously for pulling up on us. Please make sure you do a few things for me. Like the show, share it with your friends, and more importantly, subscribe and subscribe to the show. Tonight's guest, we've talked to basketball players, sports figures. We talk to coaches. We talk to agents. And tonight we're going to talk to a guest that's on the other side of everything, into the clothing industry of the basketball and also dealing with the NIL. So you can kind of get a good feel for everything. But before we bring the guests out, Val, you know what to do. Drop it.
It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. Bounce the voice and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast. Show. I said bounce the voice and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast. Show. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast.
And welcome back to the Pull Up Podcast show. It's the one and only Coach Tony. Tonight's guest, coming from and born and raised out in Vermont, and has worked his way back south, and basketball has been the main focus of his career. And now, as he's moved on in his late career, he's now made basketball a main focus for sportswear. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring on my guest. He hails from Central Florida in Orlando area. We're going to talk to the president and the founder and owner of Hoop Culture. Yes, Hoop Culture, the brand new lifestyle brand. Let's bring my guy on the show tonight, the one and only Coach Mike Brown.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Coach Mike, man, how you doing this evening, buddy?
I'm blessed, man. I can't complain. I'm on here with you.
Hey, man, I just appreciate your time. I know you sitting up. You got a factory to run. You got some items to get out and things to do, man. So I just really, really appreciate you taking a moment out of your schedule, man, allowing us to get a small piece of it,
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let's go all the way back to the beginning and kind of take us back as you were growing up in Vermont, and how did basketball become such a love? Did you have any siblings playing sports, or any brothers and sisters, or was it kind of like you out in the neighborhood and basketball kind of found you?
Yeah, I would say basketball kind of found me. I grew up with very little. So, to find a hoop, and all I needed was a basketball, and I could practice by myself. I was an only child growing up. I was able to, find something that I was passionate about and fell in love with it, because I felt like as much as I poured into it, I could get out of it. And so it was kind of the main driving force for me growing up. It was my way of developing friends, finding an identity in a town where I had very little. And so it was something where, like, as I got better, I felt like more doors opened for me, and my life just improved all around. So it was such a blessing, finding that round ball and falling in love with a game that I could, practice by myself, but also, play on a team and start to get involved in youth sports and beyond.
Man, you just said the key word. A lot of people don't understand. You're in Vermont, so it's definitely cold, like Chicago. And you just said playing by yourself. And I'm going to ask you a crazy question, because I used to do it. I used to go in the backyard, Mike, and my neighbors thought I was nuts, but they kind of knew as the springtime came, I would set the garbage cans in the backyard, and I would play pickup ball by myself, a game of 21. Of course, as I got older, my AAU teams wonder, what's 21? Literally, Mike, this spring, I had to explain to my AU team, a few guys, how to play the game of 21. Is that not crazy?
It is crazy. I remember I was out there playing one-on-one by myself, Jordan versus Bird, and
Exactly.
it was crazy.
Yeah. Y'all would pick up, and I had 3 rules that I had. I would put the garbage cans out. If I took a shot and I missed a shot, it automatically changed hands to the other player.
Facts.
And if I made it, I went up top, shot my free throws, and took the ball out. And if anytime the ball came off the rim, I had rules. I couldn't take any bounces, so I had to turn, grab it, and shoot it from wherever the ball went, unless it dropped short. And I took a layup, and it always had to be a left-hand layup. And later on in life, my brother was like, "Hey, see why your basketball kind of went a different way because I had a left hand. What kind of lessons did you kind of learn out there in that backyard playing with yourself?
Yeah, it's so funny because, I feel like hoop culture is really like a culture, right? Like we
Yep.
grew up in different areas, but very similar into my experience and even playing like the one-on-one, catching it off the rim, shooting from where it is. I mean, it just all speaks to how we all kind of grew up with this game, and it's such a beautiful thing. And I think for me, I was just able to learn so much from, being able to continue to improve and to be able to surround myself with my friends from the basketball team, and just having that camaraderie, was just such a blessing because it was something where it kind of led to many more things and gave me a drive and a motivation from really an area where we didn't have anything. And so it was something that kind of got me out of a lot of situations and kept me focused in school and beyond. So I learned life through basketball.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're sitting on the backside of the East Coast. You out there on the back of New York with all
Yep.
these guards and all these players.
Yep.
How was high school basketball for you? What high school did you come out of, and were
Yep.
you guys kind of competitive in the state? You make a state run, make a district run, anything of that nature?
Yeah, so I was really fortunate to kind of be secluded in Vermont. Like I grew up in a small town, so I really didn't know a lot that was going on around me except for what I saw on TV. I remember Allen Iverson was like my idol back then, and I just wanted to be exactly like him. And I wanted to play point guard at Georgetown. And I really, in my mind, growing up in that small town, making varsity as a freshman, just having like these dreams, I thought that I could do anything. And then I started branching out to regional camps. I went to a Hoop Mountain camp where
Wow.
a bunch of states came in. And I finally, in that moment, I think it was my junior year when I started getting recruited and going out to those camps, realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. And I kind of took that value lesson to be like, okay, it's going to challenge me. So when I go back, I'll be better, in Vermont. But I really didn't understand the competitiveness of what was around me, especially in New York, until I got to college and we were recruiting kids out of the city and out of New York. And it was really a challenge for me because obviously you can see I was always undersized. I had to felt like I had to work harder than everyone else. And it was just, a constant battle, but it was something like that just drove me.
Yeah, yeah. Now you coming out, and as you mentioned, you're in a small city,
Yeah.
small area. You knew about the big city, as we always say when we're in the South. The big city is New York, and
Yep.
you kind of knew you got a slew of point guards coming out of Brooklyn, out of Queens, out
Yep.
of Harlem, everything around. And then AI becomes your guy, and then you end up heading out to a JUCO. Tell us that
Yep.
route. How did you end up going out of that JUCO? Because back in the day when we played, we came out, as well as I am, Mike. JUCOs were big time. You
Yeah.
know, they fell off the map over the years. But back in the day when Jerry Tartanian, before he went to UNLV, had Grandmama and all them out of Odessa, Texas, and all that. And if you went to a junior college back in the day, that still meant something because I remember going to camps up in your back door in PA at Hoop
Yep.
Group,
Yep.
ABCD camp. So those are something. And back in the day, those camps, Mike, they were outside. You didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to go inside like these guys do today.
Yeah, you remember Five Star? That was
I'm a
like
five
an
star.
elite
Oh
camp.
yeah.
So I must have saw the competition in New York. So I ran the opposite direction, up into Maine, right?
All right.
So I was very fortunate to play, at Southern Maine Community College, and it was a ton of fun. I remember we got to play against, Karan Butler was at the time playing at a prep school up there, and we were able to have like a fun game and play against some D1 competition,
Sure.
from his team, and it was a great experience. And for me, it was a kind of a fresh start from high school. I was getting heavily recruited my junior year, and my senior year, I kind of fell off a little bit. And so junior college became kind of a rebound for me. And I was able to kind of find, myself again in the game of basketball. I was all academic. I was, all state and to where I played on the all-star game. So it gave me the confidence. I think everything in my life, when it stems to basketball, has been about confidence. And so when I got that, I really thrived. And it was really interesting when I was at that, community college. I won the IBM Business Award, and my
Oh, wow.
teacher was giving me like the recognition, and he said, you know, this athlete has taken his hard work from the basketball court and put it into the classroom. And literally the only reason why I was going to school was to play basketball. And in
And
that
that's something.
moment, in that moment, I realized that I had something special, that I overcame so much to get to where I was, especially at my size, that I could kind of do anything in life if I worked hard. It's not just basketball because, you know, I knew it wasn't going to last forever, but I was
Right.
holding on to it as long as I could. But once he said that, my whole life changed. I was like, man, I'm going to work hard in everything I do, you know? So it was a great experience up there in Maine. And then I was able to transfer at then a small Division II college and back in Vermont and finish out my career. And that's when, you know, we were getting recruiting kids from New York. I remember the point
Yeah.
guard transferred to Rutgers, and my senior year I was able to start, and it was just incredible. We got to play the University of North Florida, and you know, I think I shared with you in my bio.
Florida been big time for a long time.
They were Division II at the time, but the thing is like it was warm in the winter time down in Florida, and that was my first
Yeah.
time ever on a plane, first time ever out of New England. I was like, people really live in warm weather and Christmas. I was like, let me get out of here. I mean, I feel like growing up in the Northeast was a blessing for me because it kept me
Yeah.
in the gym. I hated the cold weather. I stayed in
Right.
the gym.
Right. I'm telling you, like me, I always talk about a story. You know, I played football as a young kid,
Yeah,
and that's one of the things I always talked about. I got hit, and in Chicago, man, they tackle you, they throw the snow in your face in the help, and they don't figure out a rocket scientist to figure out your face freezes within about 2 or 3 minutes later, and got hit, quit playing football, walked
yep,
in the gym. It was 80 degrees in the gym, and cheerleaders were in there, and I knew exactly where I wanted to be, man.
amen.
So that's crazy. So the cool part about that is here it is. I'm thinking that you may have in the back of your mind all that time coming out. I want to go play at University of Vermont, but
I
of
know,
course
right?
that obviously didn't happen. And kind of God took you on your own path, and then He set you down a path that a lot of kids I try to make understand. If you're going to do it, and everyone's not an NBA player, but
Yeah,
everyone has the ability to read, write, and understand. So let
yeah,
that basketball open those doors and get a free opportunity to have a good education, man. Did that
exactly.
soon click to you? And as you started getting those awards academically?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, it was one thing after another. Like it was a whirlwind. I remember, you know, my college career was just amazing in the classroom, you know, I was part of the treasury. I was a treasurer of the Phi Theta Kappa National Honor Society. I was president of the student government. I kind of just, once I realized that I could do a lot more than outside the court, I kind of dove into everything. And I'll tell you that when I moved to Florida after I graduated, I started, the brand started as Hoop Connection, and I wanted to connect athletes to college coaches because I felt like if I could play in college, anyone could. And if basketball would motivate them to get into school and end up with an education like my story, and if I helped one person, then I would fulfill, you know, kind of my dreams and my goals of what basketball did for me. And it evolved tremendously after that into what we'll talk about much more into hoop culture. But that was my motive, you know, after graduating was I wanted to help other kids. I want them to realize that, you know, basketball is a resource. It is a tool. I remember my first trademark shirt said, "This game is my life," and I was just that's the way I felt. And I was like, parents aren't going to love this, you know. School, God, I mean, everybody loved it. Parents, I mean, they just understood like the message that I was trying to put on that shirt meant much more than, you know, playing on a basketball court. And that's how we kind of took off.
Man, that's absolutely incredible. Man, we are here tonight with your boy, the one and only Coach Tony, and I got my guy, Coach Mike Brown, in the house tonight, president and founder of Hoop Culture, and you guys know that brand, and it's been all over, pushing tremendous numbers. Talking a little bit about background right now. For if you have a question for Coach Mike, please put it into the chat line so Val, the voice, will be able to do it. She's sitting here moderating me tonight. We're going to take a break here in the first quarter and pay some bills because if I don't, we're going to get put out the building. Val? pay a couple bills. We'll be right back on the Pull Up Podcast Show.
Are you a small business owner looking to grow? Introducing the KeySpot mobile app. I'm Cynthia McAllister, owner of the IT company Quality SAP. Since 2016, we have been supporting small businesses and help them promote and share their businesses, services, and events across the country. KeySpot is more than just an app. We are a network providing community. KeySpot, connecting communities and supporting small businesses.
Man, we're back on the Pull Up Podcast shows. We give you quarter by quarter sports information tonight on episode 209 with my guy, Coach Mike Brown of Hoop Culture. Coach, let's take a step back. So let's go back to Green Mountain College, right? Where you then started the development. You're coming out of the JUCO, get to be blessed, figure out academics is where you go. But now you get the opportunity to go play at a D2. So your basketball dreams are still there, right? They're still not thrown in the closet yet. Take us from the experience, because you are 100% right. I really didn't know or really understand where I wanted to go until I played college basketball. And I knew I didn't. Growing up in Chicago, parts of New York, Alabama, was all my family. And I just knew that I did not want to shovel snow for a living. That piece I did know. And when I got to the point to realize and going to college and playing in Florida, California, Texas, going down south, New Orleans, when I graduated, I was like, hey, I gave it a few years and I did whatever I had to do to make my way south. And I'm in Nashville now. So at Green Mountain, you were an outstanding player. It wasn't like you just sit there and you wasn't, you gave it your all. Just take us to that college experience you had, and then from there, once you graduated.
Yeah, I mean, full transparency, it was very difficult, that transition to that level. At the time, they were in the trial period of NCAA Division II, so we were playing all the Division II programs, trying to prove ourselves. We started being able to offer scholarships and recruit all over the world. It was interesting because Green Mountain's like a very small, or was a very small private school,
Right.
kind of focused on like environmental. So it was like half of us was into the environment and the other half was into sports. We had, our soccer team was good. We had all these, Ireland kids coming over, and my basketball team had foreign players as well. We had
Wow.
some big men from Israel and from other countries, and it was kind of fun to experience that different cultures from different paths of life, and to all kind of get united in this very small town on this very small campus, and kids coming up from the city. So it was difficult, kind of getting acclimated to that, to kind of prove where I fit in, being undersized and kind of already coming in as a junior from junior college. But I just worked my tail off every day, and I fought for everything. And so I remember my junior year, I got the coaches award, and I would have probably been upset in high school or even at my junior college, but
Right.
it was a testimony to like my work ethic, being there. And like I said, the starting point guard transferred, and so I was kind of in the position to compete for the starting job. And I remember I went to
Sure.
Colorado Springs that summer, and I was like, look, I'm getting away from all my friends. This is my last shot at
Right.
at basketball, my senior year, and I just trained all summer long, playing out there. And I came back. I was healthy. I was, doing better than I ever have, and I was able to earn the starting position. And like I said, it was challenging because we were still playing against, established Division II
Right.
programs, but
Yeah.
luckily, we were able to, play some of the local colleges as well. So it was a nice mix for me, and a good experience to kind of grow. I just remember one day, just a funny story. I was so undersized that my coach is like, "You're gonna have to set screens on 7-footers." He's like, "I don't care if you're hanging on them. I don't. You
Right.
do not shy away from it." And it was one of
Right.
those things where even though I was little, like I didn't fear nobody, so I would do what
Right.
he'd say. I'd hang on to him. I'd flop probably a couple of times or
Yeah,
whatever, but
that's cool.
it
Exactly.
it was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of great growing up and learning experience there basketball wise because it was a different level. Growing up
Sure.
in a small town, scoring 1,000 points and being the man for 4 years, going to junior college, and also then kind of finding myself in the right situation to build my confidence up and earning all these accolades to go into Green Mountain where probably no one thought I should be there, and
Right.
earning a position. So I got to see both sides of it, sitting my junior year a lot, for the first time ever. So it was humbling, but it was fun, and it had a happy ending to the story.
Man, I'm glad, and I'm hoping you guys are listening tonight on the Pull Up Podcast Show with my guy, Coach Mike Brown, just dropping early nuggets on his way, and that's funny that you say that, Mike, because a lot of kids, especially what we call the new generation, they give up. I got a large AAU program. I place between 300 and 500 kids, and probably more, boys and girls, over a 25, 23, 25-year decade from 2000 all the way up to current, still helping kids, still doing things right now. And it really gives me some time when I see those kids go on and they're in great situations, Mike.
Yeah.
They're in situations where either they're in full scholarship or they're in a situation where they're on a full academic scholarship at a smaller school and they don't like it. So if they don't walk through the door and in the starting lineup or walk through the door on the floor playing, they call me and they're ready to transfer. And
Yeah.
they hear them listen to you, undersized guy, small town, the big city is down the road from you. You get an opportunity, you figure out how to get better, and then you make the best of it. You know,
Mm.
it's just incredible. When you see something like that, what do you see or what have you seen currently with some of the kids that you have coached, been around? Do you see some of them with the same work ethic that you had, or you kind of got to coast it into them?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I always felt like I had a different heart than everybody. I always, said that I had, more fight, within than the people that I was competing against. I think in today's day and age, man, these kids have resources to everything.
Yeah,
From
right,
training to
get in touch with people like you and I. Because
yeah,
back in the day, I told my son and a couple other people that I coached, if you were back in the day when we had to
yeah,
play, you had to sit down, write that letter, stamp it,
yeah,
send it off. Hopefully the AD or hopefully the secretary saw your letter, saw what's interesting, gave it
yeah,
to the coach. Then hopefully the coach opened it up between just 40, 50, 60 other letters he's got, then
yeah,
get back to you and then write you back.
yeah,
Now you go to the computer, social media, and you
yeah.
push the button and you get 10,000 coaches in one night.
Yeah. No, it's a much different process for sure. And I was able to kind of see that all the way through from, once I graduated, I kind of dug into that, the recruiting side of it and understanding, how to get recruited and what coaches were looking for. So it was a good experience for me. But like I was saying, I just think these kids are different. I can't judge. They don't have, the same work ethic. I think that they just have a different type of work ethic than we had to go through. They have their resources up to out to training to equipment to year-round basketball. Like if you want to
Yeah,
be good at basketball, like you have all the resources at your fingertips, and it
exactly.
and it's amazing. And I see some kids working their tail off. I think there's more competition now than when I was younger. Obviously I
Yes.
got an opportunity. I don't think I would have the same opportunity now. I'm even say like coming down here to Florida and watching youth basketball, like I thank God I didn't grow up here. Like, I hated the cold weather, but like I would
Right,
have probably been a junior before I got, my friends like
right,
always like, well, you're a shooter, like you would make it. And I was like, I watch these same kids play, man. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can
right.
even get a shot off down here. So like honestly, like I think everybody's in the right situation at the right time, and it's all in God's plan. But for me, I think like some kids, of course, just like back then, would quit and give up. And I appreciated that because I wanted that opportunity. But the same thing down here is like, what I see is like kids putting in more work. They have more resources. They're focused on their, on their diets, things that we didn't necessarily think about or that I didn't necessarily think about growing up or were educated about without that parental figure, without that coach, that was really driving me. And now they have AAU coaches that are mentors. They have people like you, Coach Tony, that they can kind of turn to. So they have a lot more resource open to their fingertips. I think they still work hard. I see them out there all the time. I do think it's a different world. I just don't pretend to judge it because I think every situation is different. So I'm just excited to kind of still be involved in it and learning it. I mean, as a brand, to be around youth basketball almost every weekend, especially during the
Yeah,
summertime, you're able to witness culture
correct.
change in the game.
Yep.
I can appreciate it. I'm like, playing against a young kid. I was like, I could never guard a step back. Like, how to,
Right.
all these things that, like, I didn't
Euro,
have
you got
growing
the
up.
Euro in there and all the
My
other stuff that we didn't have.
It's insane. The Euro step. I was like, if I could just have two of those things in my bag right now, like I would
Yeah,
dominate the 30 and over men's league at
right.
my church. You know what I'm saying? But I
Exactly.
can't get them.
Exactly.
It's too old. I'm
Exactly.
too late.
Exactly. I got a question that's in here. It says, Coach Mike, when you're looking at, is you mentioned about undersized guys, because we know that when we look at current basketball players, a lot of them are undersized. What would you tell the guys that are undersized right now that are trying to make it in the game with the game being changed the way that it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just having this conversation the other day. Size is a big deal, when you're playing. You remember like Muggsy Bogues. I was so excited to kind of go to a game and see him. Spud Webbs. There's not a lot of those guys that are really under, 6 feet, that are able to make it. Nate Robinson's another, I
Hey,
don't even know, but how tall
but well,
exactly he was, but yeah, those guys were amazing. I think that they had to play above the rim. They had some athletic ability, added to their game. But to me, it's something that you have to really dig deep if you're undersized and find other ways to add value. You got to lift your team up. You got to be an emotional spark. I remember that was me on the court. Like I was
right,
so emotional. I don't know if it's because of the size, right? Like my big men were so stoic and they didn't, say anything, do anything, and I'm out there, screaming and yelling and jumping and
right,
pounding the floor,
right.
like,
Making noise.
like
Exactly.
you gotta get after it. So it's like, when you're smaller, I think you have to fight a little bit harder, but
Yep.
also add value in areas where, other people that might be, have a lot more confidence wouldn't do. I mean, think about how someone like Quinn Cook, like it lasted in
Right.
the NBA because it's like you bring a lot to the table, not only with your
Correct.
game, but with your attitude, with how you push your
Yep.
teammates, and there's a lot more than just the ability to play basketball. Obviously, it's
Correct.
very important, but be self-aware, identify what you're good at, what you need to
Yep.
be working on, but also find additional value that you can add to your team. I remember my coach would say, "Don't turn the ball over. That's all you have to
Right.
do. Just don't turn the
Yeah,
ball over."
I just said that tonight in practice. Mike, don't turn my ball over. Two things you don't do. Don't turn my ball over and don't miss layup. If you
Yeah,
don't do those two things, we can be in the game. And it's
facts.
funny because I look at guys like a Tyus Etney.
Yeah,
I look at guys like Ty Jones right
yeah,
now is
yeah,
doing those things. You mentioned earlier about the original thought process was hoop connection,
yeah,
kind of what you and I are doing, where you connect the athletes to the coaches. I've been down in your back door to come down and play at
yeah,
Celebration High School all the time. So
yeah,
stay down on floor, and I used to be all over Orlando so much because at one point, that's where all the AAU nationals had
yeah,
to go in
yeah.
Orlando, and the platform that you had was to help those kids do that. And then all of a sudden, at an event, something changed. What happened there?
Yeah, I mean, we had a T-shirt out. Our logo is the H and the C for Hoop Connection at the time, but it's like it's very simple. I mean, you think about all these iconic brands that have like the most simplistic logo, but it kind of means something. So it was just an H and a C, but it was in the shape of a basketball, and it was kind of like
Yep.
kind of stood out. So a kid was like, "How much for the T-shirt?" And I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, this is challenging to figure out a business model where you can generate revenue, and maybe if we open up the opportunities to apparel, since the kids like the brand already, or at least the logo. It was exciting to kind of go down that road, because it was a time where and one had kind of come and
Right,
gone.
and one came
um
today. And they had they had the outdoor with Professor and
Yeah,
everybody rocking there, and then and Starberry had his
yeah,
N1 shoes
I
selling for
remember.
$19 at Walmart.
Yep. I remember the Starberry brand. I saw like their tour bus pull up to a mall one time. I was just always
Yeah,
impressed with a basketball focused brand is so appealing to me. And one, I didn't necessarily like the messaging or even a lot of the things they were putting out there, but I love the fact that it was about basketball. It wasn't
yeah,
a brand that identified with a ton of different sports. It was basketball specific, and they did an amazing job. They had an amazing run and still do. I mean, obviously they're still in business and generating
right,
a significant amount of revenue. But we wanted to kind of be that next basketball brand. But instead of talking trash, we wanted to be inspirational. I think it was one of those things where like hip hop at the time, the N one was
yep,
around, was talking trash, and then by the time we kind of got there, it was like let's inspire these youth. Let's
right.
inspire through music. And obviously, basketball is part of the culture. It's part of the fashion culture. It's part of the sneaker culture. Basketball, unlike any other sport, kind of goes across
Right.
across. I mean, when Michael Jordan has his logo on motorcycles, that
Correct.
basketball is different. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
We look
exactly.
at what basketball players are wearing into the lot,
NASCAR.
into the
He got his
games.
own NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, basketball is just the most amazing sport to me. How it kind of reaches beyond the court. And so it was something that we were just blessed and fortunate to take advantage of. And obviously, kind of the rest is history to be able to come up with an H and a C logo. And we had to identify, well, what is H and C that could relate to apparel? Well, hoop culture. Okay, well, we still have the HC. We can keep the logo, and it's hoop
Right.
culture. And so, from hoop connection to hoop culture to kind of where we're at now.
Oh,
14 years later.
that's amazing. We're gonna come back on the other
Yep.
side. Mike and I got to take the teams into the locker room. Got to get in them. It's halftime.
Halftime.
Go in there and talk to them. Val, pay a few more of these bills we got. We'll be right back to the third quarter with your guy, Coach Tony, and this is the Pull Up Podcast Show.
I've always thought about how my mom has supported me in any creative endeavor. How beautiful was it for your mom to be the superhero in your life and show up in your creative ventures with this book?
People ask her to sign the book more than they ask me to sign the book. Sometimes I step to the side, I take their picture. And, we have to celebrate our mothers. We got to celebrate our beginning.
There you go.
So she comes out with me. Every event, she is there. Even when I tell her she does not need to come, she will show up in the parking lot. And I'm like, oh, okay, you coming? Okay. I'm like, all right.
Right. And she got a bottle of wine in her hand.
What
Yeah.
in the world? Why are you giving her alcohol? Don't.
No, I'm just saying. She showed up in the parking lot. She got a bottle of wine, nice wine. She gonna set it down. She ready for the show, Val. You know what I'm saying? Because the funny part about it is, CJ, I've actually talked to Val. I thought about writing a book myself called My Man's in There.
I love it.
And look at Val.
My
Yeah.
man's in them.
My
Can
man's
you
in
spell
there.
that?
But you gotta read the book. You gotta read the book. But it's a play. CJ, I apologize because Val should have dropped some old Dub C so you could have came out crip walking. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not flamed up right now. I got to hold on. Trying to get me shot.
Going back to school tomorrow, like I saw
gotta go
you,
work tomorrow.
I saw you, Miss Charles. I saw you.
I mean, I can crip walk, so please, but I'm kind of, I'm authoring right now. You guys are funny.
Man, you know how it is coming out that locker room, coach, in that third quarter. We got to get the second half right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please make sure you like us, share us, and more importantly, subscribe to the show. This is the Pull Up Podcast Show. My guest, Coach Mike Brown. I want to go back to the logo, as Val had that on a moment ago. And as you just said, it really, because I remember, Coach, when I got this right here, and I launched a year and a half, 2 years ago, coming up on the rise. And me and my designer was talking, and he mentioned about the soccer guy right here with the ball. And I was like, well, it don't make any sense. Then when he put it together and said, the name with a logo is simply an eye attachment.
Yeah.
So when we print all the original materials, it was the Rise NIL with everything described. But he said later on, once we get going, we'll drop the name Rise, and all they will see is the running man with a ball, and they would immediately know that's the Rise. And he gave it to me, Coach, and in 4 examples. He said, one, let's go back and look at Amazon. And I didn't even think about this until he showed it to me. He said, go look at Amazon. And when you look at Amazon back in the day, the Amazon logo has the arrow under the A to the Z. And I said, wow, I didn't never pay that attention. And I said, why? He said, because they're letting UPS, DHL, and FedEx know we do everything from A to Z. He said, look at Nike. Nike old logo was with the Nike word and then the swoosh. And then look at Adidas, same thing, and look at Under Armour. Now, when you look at those 4 major brands, when you look at Amazon, all you see is what? The arrow on apparel. When you look at Nike, you just see the swoosh, Adidas, the 3 stripes, Under Armour, the UA. So to start out with the hoop connection and then to grow it into the hoop culture, you still had those H and the C. But I'm going to tell you, man, what I really loved about the logo is what you said. It made me physically pick up my basketball, turn it on the side, right, at the seam, and see the H and see the C.
Yep.
Because you basically cut the ball in half and took the H as elongated H from the middle and then grabbed the C off the curvature. I thought that was very clever, man. Did that come to you right away, or did you see the logo and all of a sudden it just now like, oh wow, that's an H and a C?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of came together, working on it. Even I think back in Vermont, I was working on trying to come up with this, opportunity to kind of start Hoop Connection and come up with the logo. So once I saw it, I kind of made that connection, and it was kind of perfect. It was something that I knew could stand alone, right? It was something that could eventually one day be identified with just the logo. And yeah, it's exciting to have something that the name itself, Hoop Culture, is amazing to me. Because this is obviously much bigger than me. I just was fortunate to kind of be a part of it, and kind of get it going. But Hoop Culture is incredible.
And
It's
it's
an
simple.
incredible name. Yeah,
It's simple.
yeah.
I love it.
it
You can rock
look,
that on a hat. You know,
yep,
I play golf. You can put that on a hat. You can rock that on a T-shirt.
yeah.
And then, what's up, my boy, Mr. Mark Lee is in the house checking in tonight, Coach Brown. What's up, Mark? Mark, he said, man,
Hey, Mark.
your boy Cam is doing his thing tonight at Marquette. I ain't watching the game, so you got to keep me posted, Mark. But, hey, if you got a question tonight, Mark, because I know you always very questionable to a lot of our guests, Coach Mike, man, Mark is one of my guys. He's in here all the time. Please put it in there. But, go back. Let's talk about connecting, because even though you came with a hoop culture, the tagline was it's a lifestyle brand. How
Mhm.
did you kind of put the tag to the logo? And because I love that hoop culture, it's a lifestyle brand. So it's kind of like, and let's look at it like this. You came out and launched the brand in 2010, right?
Yep.
So then you had to it took a decade to get going. It's not like in 2010, you were just, boom, you were there. It took a minute. Take us through the process, because then you coming through 2010 on the backside of a tremendous financial crash, right, in the
Mhm.
U.S. We
Yeah.
had problems,
Yeah.
gas prices going on. Then you had to build it up. And then once you got rolling, 2020, 2021, we go right into a pandemic.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an extraordinary journey. All I can say, it's humbling, throughout the process, and continues to be even to today. As you grow, obviously, the issues grow bigger, and it's always something that you have to deal with every single day. It never stops. Every day is a new day. And I remember like trying to compare it to playing basketball. I feel like it's much different. I think business is even harder. I mean, when we look at some statistics where within 5 years, 95% of all businesses fail. I mean, that's like something that's kind of incredible, right? If you really think about it, just survival is a win in business. And then you want to take it to the next level. And the longer you're in business, the more opportunities you have, and which we see, today, the partners that we work with. But at the beginning, it was really literally out of the trunk of your car. We're
Right.
going to
Like the old mixtapes.
yeah, we're at a travel basketball events all around the country, just one after another, just promoting the brand. And it's funny because hoop culture wasn't, significant obviously at the time. Obviously it was to us because, we wanted to get it going, but it was more so like, the slogans that were coming up with, the inspirational messages, and it was by hoop culture, right? So, you came up with this game is my life. Then you got to come up with something new, right? And so it's
Right.
like Eat Sleep Ball was our next big trademark. Like that was incredible, had an amazing run. Then it was Ice in My Veins, and it was Hoop Vibes, and it's basketball above all. So all these trademarks, when you think about like intellectual property, they were able to sustain and grow. And then I remember packing a T-shirt, because we fold and bag T-shirts here, right? Like that's like our life. Packing this T-shirt that just says Hoop Culture on the front. And I remember thinking about the journey to get to this moment that someone's actually willing to pay money for something that just says Hoop Culture
Right.
on a shirt. Instead, it doesn't have to say this game is my life. It doesn't have to say
Nothing.
Eat Sleep Ball. It
Like
doesn't.
Adidas, Nike, whatever,
Yeah.
just one word.
So we're still in that evolution, right? Like, so it started with the slogans, then it started with the brand Hoop Culture, and we're evolving into recognizing that HC logo. So we're still on our journey. And I remember thinking something you said, like I'd look at these other brands and just be like, why aren't we there yet? Why aren't we at this level? Because we're working harder than everyone else, and we're doing
Sure.
it with integrity and doing it the right way, because we want to establish long-term relationships. As big as basketball is, it's a small community. So you have to maintain relationships, especially with people that do good business. So we're trying to do things the right way. And I'd be like, well, look at Supreme, look at, all these brands and how big they are. And then you look at it and you're like, well, they've been in business for 30 years. Yeah, we might just
Right.
know about them, recently they got popular. And like you said, it's like hoop culture is kind of like the new brand. It's like, well, it's not
Yeah.
new to me. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I've been,
It's new to you on your block. But the cool part about it though, Mike, is kind of like when it's funny how the number 10
yeah,
comes up so much.
yeah,
Doing a podcast, they say it takes 8 to 10, and then everything blows because the numbers
yeah.
finally come, and then the brand. How did you step in an industry at two times that the world was having financial issues or world problems?
Yeah.
And then you step in there from a retail perspective, and then you combating against the giants. Because
Yeah.
Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour at the time had to figure out how to go from a box in a
Yeah.
wall because
Yeah.
nobody could go outside for a year or two.
Yeah.
And now they had to come on even playing ground because that store that we used to open the door to now had to become an online store to
Yeah.
order to. And then the cool part about it is you're like, cool, because now they're pretty much down to my level.
Yeah.
What was the thought process when you got to that level that now you figure that you on even playing grounds trying to compete? What was that thought process?
Coach Tony, you're so smart, man. Yeah, exactly. It was that whirlwind. I remember going to New York and meeting with Foot Locker, and they're just like, "You're not ready yet." And I was like, "Well, our brand, like we work so hard. I love it so much. It should be in retail." And it was like we're trying so hard to get to that space. And at the end of the day, like retail wasn't where you're supposed to be, right? So like this whole journey, although it's been very difficult, it's really been God's plan, because it's like where we think we need to be at, we're right where we're supposed to be all the time. And it's incredible because it's just been kind of a whirlwind where it's like, okay, you want to be in big box. And then people are wondering, like, we partnered with the Harlem Globetrotters last summer.
Oh, that's
And they,
dope.
they approached us, and we did like streetwear, we did designs for their players off the court, because I feel like we're in touch with the youth, that we're like an up and coming brand, and we've been doing things the right way. And so, like when people look at our brand, our designs, what we're doing, it's appealing to them because it's like we're staying young. The older I get, the brand is staying young because we're still doing
Right.
the same things that we did when we first started. That means going to grassroots basketball. That means remaining authentic to the game that we love so much. And yeah, maybe we're not doing like as good as we think we should be doing, but it's all part of the process to get to where we're going to be and be able to use those resources to really make a difference. And that's where we're at now. We've been just very fortunate with coming out at the right time with social media. Even up and down economy, everyone's still hooping. We're still going to these events. We're still, pushing online. And quite honestly, it's really the team that you kind of surround yourself with. I remember reading a book when I first started. I felt like if you read a book, like you could be successful. But it said, surround yourself with the right, people, and we've
People
been able
smarter
to
than
do
you.
that. Yeah, we've been able to do that here, and so hoop culture would be nothing without the people that we've been, in touch with. That's helped us along the way, and the family and the employees that work here. I'm just happy to be a part of the process and really like seeing where this thing is going to go because we still have a long ways to go. I'm excited of who we're working with and what we're doing now. Don't get me wrong, but I mean like where we're going to be is just only up to God.
Man, I'm loving it. Hey, we're gonna take our last break of the
Yep.
day. We're sitting here in the studios talking
Fourth
to the one and
quarter.
only Coach Mike Brown. We're going to the fourth quarter, and trust me, I'm gonna beat Coach. I gotta win this game. I don't like losing, so don't turn the ball over. Val,
Me neither.
take this last bill for me, please. Get these IRS guys out of my pocket.
Are you a small business owner looking to grow? Introducing the KeySpot mobile app. I'm Cynthia McAllister, owner of the IT company Quality SAP. Since 2016, we have been supporting small businesses and help them promote and share their businesses, services, and events across the country. KeySpot is more than just an app. We are a network providing community. KeySpot, connecting communities and supporting small businesses.
And we break about this time out, heading to the fourth quarter, baby. Like Coach said, we always tell our guys 4-4, so they know it's the fourth quarter. Hey, it's the Pull Up Podcast. So, Ashley, thank you for checking in tonight. I appreciate it. How are you doing? You got any questions for the coach? Please put them in the tagline so Valerie can put them out here. So let's get into the thick and thin of things now, Coach. We know about the background. I understand, all the blood, sweat, and tears being put in the product process, and then what you're doing. So the Milk House, and for
Yep.
those that don't know, I love the Milk House. It is crazy. This is one of the best basketball venues that I've been in Central Florida. It is phenomenal. Crazy part about it, it's out in the middle of no man's land. First of all,
Tony, I think you mean the big house.
the big house. I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize.
They
So it is.
literally have the milk house at Disney, I think.
Yeah,
Too.
I apologize. Yeah, I know the Milk House, but I meant the big house. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful venue to
Yeah.
play in. When we were down there for the first time, I was like, oh my God. I had my kids down. If it wasn't such a long drive year after year after year
Yeah.
for us, 11 hours, and we would do it every single year. So let's talk to us a little bit about how you connected with the big house to put on this event. Talk a little bit about the event, and then I want you to go ahead and if you got a time and Val puts it up for us, just go ahead and mention the teams that are going to be playing and there's great opportunities you've got coming up.
Yeah, we're really excited. This is our fourth annual Hoop Culture Showcase, and it's a youth normal travel basketball tournament, grades third through varsity. Obviously, we're in the mix of high school basketball, so a majority of the teams are middle school or younger. We wanted it in our backyard. The first year we did it in South Florida because we had a great partner down there. And then the next year we brought it here to Orlando, and literally the main place that you want to have it is at the big house because there's 9 courts under one roof. It is a
Exactly.
beautiful facility. I remember driving up, setting up at other people's tournaments and just thinking that how how great would it be to have your own event? I know like Made Hoops comes out there. I mean, it's just a great venue all around. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it's outside of where we are here, and then teams from Gainesville can come down and Tampa can come over. So we have teams coming to our event from all over the state of Florida. From the Panhandle, we have Team Impact down to South Florida. We have Southwest Florida Elite. And then, we have some great teams, around here locally. Trey Mann's teams are coming out. BBD. So there's actually kind of too many to mention. We got 70 teams that will be out there this upcoming weekend. And it's a beautiful event. We do it differently because we don't want to step on other tournament directors' toes, because that's our bread and butter. We go to their events and that's what they do. We don't run events unless we have to, because we have the work ethic to do whatever we need to do. So it kind of allows us to do something different, which is fun, and be able to showcase our brand and be around youth basketball. And the winners in each division get free uniforms. And shout out to Authentic Apparel, who's our new uniform provider partner. You saw it on the basketball that was on the picture there. We're so grateful to have that partnership. But yeah, so it's just an exciting event. We have custom game basketballs, which you had on there. So every court has one of those showcase basketballs. We have Lewis the painter out there, who he does stuff for like LaMelo Ball. Does paintings. Last year he was out there painting a picture for Aaron Gordon while the tournament was going on. So if you know a youth travel tournament, like, you're trapped in there, you know what I mean? Waiting in between games.
It's a showcase. It's like going to Fashion Week for basketball. Yep. Trust me.
It is. So we try to make it a little bit different, the atmosphere, the energy, and it's just a lot of fun because, like I said, it's outside our wheelhouse. But we're very, very thankful for all the teams that come and support what we're doing, because, obviously they could be doing anything. And we specifically held it before Black Friday because obviously we're in our busy season with the holidays, which is helpful. And then teams can travel in if they need to because they're on school vacation. And oddly enough, this year is a double blessing. Not only are we running the event on November 23rd and 24th, but the Orlando Magic is going to be dropping a collaboration that we did with them in their store in the arena on November 23rd against the Detroit Pistons. So
that's nice.
It's going to be a great weekend all around for us.
That's nice. So let's as we do some things here in the fourth quarter, let's give the people some information if they want to reach out and check out the showcase. Is it going to be, because I know as my team plays, Mike, Baller TV has been huge to us, and everything that we do is on Baller TV. Tell the people how if they want to be able to check out the event, how they can reach out. If they want to check out the apparel, how can they reach out? Give them some information.
Yeah, everything that we have is at Hoop Culture. We've been fortunate enough to have all the handles on all the social media. So if you just Google Hoop Culture, like, we'll pop up. If you're on social media, Hoop Culture everything. And so, yeah, we'll be out in Tavares, Florida this upcoming weekend. You can find us out there. It won't be live streamed. I don't know if it's because it is in the middle of nowhere, but it's very challenging to kind of get those services out there. But I think
wasn't working good at all, Mike. It wasn't working good.
The internet's slow, but it's it's okay because it's in the off season, but it's a lot of fun. And we have MSH TV, who's out of Ohio. They're big in the middle school. They run a huge camp. They're going to be down there filming. So hopefully we get some cool highlights from them, because we do have some really good middle school, younger age kids playing in the event. So it should be, filled with a bunch of talent and a lot of fun. But I appreciate this time that we're able to share like this story for Hoop Culture, and I wish that we had more time. But if anybody reaches out to me on social media, I handle all the DMs on Instagram. I'd love to answer any questions that people might have. We went through this process so that we can help others that are either thinking about it and going through it. I know you talked about the NIL stuff and what you're doing there, which is truly amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that because I wanted to tie in, because you're first of all, I don't know if the people heard you. The Orlando Magic, that's the NBA, is decided to jump in with the Hoop Culture and kind of help out. That's great. I have a lot of shout out to the Tennessee Titans locally here in Nashville. They work with me. I work closely with the NFL Players Association, who helps out my program. It's great to see the football program give back to basketball because athletes are athletes. But
Yep.
I'm in that NIL space with the Rise here and doing some things, and you jumped off in that space as well. How do you tie hoop culture off into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a natural fit, right? You got all these kids. I remember when NIL first started, we'd get like soccer players from Harvard reaching out to us. It
Right.
was an open season, right? Like everybody
Yeah.
wanted an NIL deal, and I didn't really see where we fit in at the time because it was
Well,
like we're still a small brand. We're not paying the exorbitant amount of money for people to promote us to see if
right.
it might work or might not work. And all these kids are promoting all these brands, and we wanted it to be authentic where we're able to engage with them. So it wasn't an early entry for us. We kind of stayed in our lane. We wanted to see what was going on. It's not until recently where we have a partnership with Sixth Sense Consulting, and they're entrenched into the NIL space. I went out to Las Vegas for a conference out there that was hosted, and it was really incredible to be in that atmosphere. Dana
That's that.
Pump was
It's
yeah,
taking
Dana
off.
Pump was up there. Everybody was there really in the NIL space. I remember BJ Armstrong was sitting behind me.
The
And
Pump Brothers. I know the Pump Brothers. Yeah.
yeah, so like it was incredible learning experience for me. So we're getting into the space, through that partnership, and we're able to work with Division 1 colleges right now. We launched which you showed on the screen, Long Beach State. We're doing a collaboration with, and
University of
Louisville
Louisville.
basketball,
Yeah, let's
and
go.
working on some other ones. So whether it's universities where we can add value to what they're doing, because the
I
NIL
want to be
space
your high
is
school. I want to be your high school. I got an all girl team. I told you we're gonna
facts.
talk. We're gonna
Has it got
talk. We're gonna.
approved? Has it got
Yep.
approved there yet? We got
Yep.
it in Florida. It got approved. High
Yep.
school kids can get it.
I talked to a couple of things. I talked to AD, and he said, "Hey, man, we
Yep.
sit down and we're gonna talk on that and get it." And speaking of talking, Mark says, looking at your brand right
Yeah.
now and the way that you got it, Mike, he said, what product do you hope to develop that you haven't developed yet coming up? Like, is there something that, I know you got the hoodies, we know you got the shirts, we know
Yeah.
you got the cool gear. Is there something that you've been like, something I would really love to do this, but nah, not yet? Is there something in your mind you've thought about?
Yeah, I mean, as a brand, like you're always thinking, right? Like,
Exactly.
we've had to evolve from just selling t-shirts because now everybody has merch, right? So
Correct.
it's like we got to be sustained. So we kind of, you know, are always focused on product development. Our backpacks are like one of
Oh,
my favorite
awesome.
products that we have.
Yeah,
They're just so
yeah,
different,
yeah,
big, bulky, athletic backpack.
yeah.
I want to continue to evolve those because I think that's one of our strengths that we have in the backpack space. Our creative director is currently working on a new one. We have a demo here that's incredible. I wish I could show you. So I would say like my biggest hope. I'm really trying to get. It's kind of a two-pronged question because there's so many things I'd like to do.
Right.
I'd like to get our tracksuits like a little bit more on point because I really love what those
Back
do
and
for
field.
lifestyle. And I like ours now, like they're really good, but I think like we could make those a little bit better. So that would probably be my number one goal right now, to be honest with you. And then, the evolution of the backpack to continue to come up with, new ideas. We have this duffel backpack, which is a backpack and a duffel bag, which is by far the most incredible product that I've ever
Yes.
seen. It
Ever.
has
It's big enough to put a freaking basketball in it, man.
yeah, coaches have bought them to put their basketballs in, clipboards. It
Yep.
has so many, unique features about it. It's not a big bulky backpack that these little kids want, right? So it's
Correct.
like, our target audience is it wasn't ready for, some of the products that would come out. So we have to think about that too, like our audience, who we're reaching and who we want to reach. So it's a constant battle of products versus audience, right? And how we want to grow that because we want to continue to mature because the kids that we're, going to their events now, they're getting older, right? They're going to college now, they're coaching. There's been so many kids. I remember Brandon Boston, he bought a t-shirt, a Trace shirt from me one day, and now he's, in the league, balling out. So
Right.
it's been a long journey. And I have meetings. They're like, "Oh man, I remember buying a Hoop Culture t-shirt back in 2013," and it's like, you know,
Right.
we're getting older, but we have to kind of stay up with that trend. So I guess to answer that question, it'd be a tracksuit would be the first thing I would really want to
Sweet.
like zero in on.
Sweet. I told you I'm gonna branch you off over into golf because I got the perfect golf person. I got a person that's going to be the next Coco Golf, and
Yep.
so you got to be designing something for me because when I bring this young lady to your front door, she's going to take that brand overseas right now, ranked in
Yeah.
the top 120 worldwide, ranked number one, top 20 U.S. So we're going to do some things. Man, Coach, listen, Coach
Yep.
Kevin Springer's in the house said, "What's up, Coach Tony? What's going on, Coach Brown?" Kevin just does our on Tuesday nights, Mike. We got we do a show called Interludes Talk on Tuesday, talk in music and entertainment. Again, we sit here at the Rise Studio with my guy, Coach Mike Brown, and I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your journey tonight to talk to us a little bit about hoop culture. I'm all in. I got my kids all in. We're gonna figure out how we're gonna do that. And but again, tomorrow night, for those that want to go on and branch into the music and what we do, we have a show called Interludes Talk on Tuesday with my girl, the one and only Val the Voice. And Val talks a little bit about the music. And tomorrow night we're gonna do some different things. We're gonna talk about a couple of movies that's on Netflix right now. And then of course she launched her own book, Mike, called How a DJ Saved Her Life. Literally going into the world of DJing and then jumping into the world of podcasting, literally saved her life. Very interesting. For those that want to order the book, scan the QR code. By the way, man, I appreciate you, my brother, and thank you for coming through. Is there any last, you always giving the shirts these wonderful cliches. What's the final cliche you can leave my guests?
Yeah, I mean, I would just have to, give a shout out to my team here at Hoop Culture, to be honest with you. I mean, that's my biggest cliche in life. Like they support me here every single day. And for me to have the opportunity to come and share my story, when they do all the hard work, I just want to, thank them because like I said, none of this would be possible without our family here. But I appreciate so much more than you can ever imagine for this opportunity. There's so many more things that, obviously we could share and go down. But thank you for your time.
Oh man, this ain't the last time, man. It's just scratching the surface, man. You're gonna be a regular guest. You're gonna come back and you got some stuff. I want you to next time. I'm gonna bring some product out. We're gonna show some stuff and see some things, man. We're gonna make it happen, man. I'm all about the new gear, man. It's like a fresh bottle of cologne, Mike. Right? You can go to the party. You don't want to smell like the other dude. You want to smell totally different, right?
I got you, man. Send me your address and size. I'll send you.
I already
some
got
stuff.
you. Hey, listen. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to the Pull Up Podcast Show with your guy, Coach Tony, and my guy, the one and only Coach Mike Brown.
And thank you guys. I appreciate it so much. God
Our
bless.
magic words here. Put them fingers up, Coach. We always gonna say at the end, peace.
Peace. Thank you guys.
It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. Bounce the voice and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast. So, I said bounce the voice and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast. So, it's